Yeah, Tuesday, April 7th, getting ready to take some garbage to the dumpster. And this is our day today. It's not April Fool's, it's not April 1st. No, it's April 7th, and it's cold. Cold and snowy. Oh, and I want to show you, because this is something I'm going to talk about when I get over to the shop. I don't know how well you can see it, but do you see that? Really pencil thin leaning power pole there with the white X on it. Yeah, there's a reason the X is on it. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. So I'm on my way back home because I had to run over town to the bank to deposit a check. But yeah, this is our day today. So far, it's actually let up a little. It was just snowing quite hard, and it was 74 last Friday, and this Thursday and Friday are gonna be in the 60s. Yeah, lovely Tuesday. Oh, here we're getting into a little bit heavier snow, but because I live about 3 miles north of town. Heading back to the shop. Also got a phone call, got to load corn today because I had 2 loads of corn sold for April. Yeah, they want to come and get one in an hour or so. Yeah, now when it's 60 now, and tonight they're saying our record low temperature is 15 degrees, and we're going to be close to that. They're calling for like 17 or 18 degrees tonight. I look like a dead baby fox in the road there that I just straddled. Is it April or is it January? I told him when he gets 15-20 minutes away, let me know so I can start that and let it warm up, because you know I have been getting some stuff slowly out of the shop. Saturday was a nice day in the 60s. My brother Doug and I got the duals put on the planting tractor, the 7230. Yeah, it's not a nice day today. So, all right, we're going in the shop and tell you why I had showed you the telephone pole with the power pole with the X on it. So, and we're probably not gonna, well, I was gonna say we're probably not gonna be out here that long because it's freaking cold with the heat up. But obviously we got to be out here long enough to load a load of corn in a little bit. All right, so some of you know how, or some of you, those of you who follow, I talked about how for like, I don't know what it was, 4 months in a row here during the winter, starting back in November, we had electric bills that were over $1,000 a month. And that covers my house, my mother's house, and here in the shop. That's what's, you know, under that umbrella of that electric bill. The grain facility is on its own. It's got its own pole out there with its own transformer, blah, 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 blah. But anyways, so the electric bill just showed up the other day. A little under $400. Yeah, we went from 1 month being $1,800 and something down to, like I said, more than quadruple less than that. Now, there was one of you, I should have wrote your name down, who I said you either work for a power company or you got a lot of stock in one or something, because you just were vehemently defending how the cost has gone up for these electric companies to operate and all that. It's funny how their delivery charge went up more than what my bill used to be. Their delivery charge during that 4-month stretch, which happened to be wintertime, imagine that, because even like us burning fuel oil, well, it takes electricity to make that, you know, thing kick on and run, and the fan and all that stuff. So not just the people with electric heat, but it's amazing how the delivery charge went up to more than what my bill normally was, because I told you guys our bill would normally be between $300 and $500 a month. And now we're back down to that. Yeah, what's the big, huge yo-yo? And I'm sure in the summertime when it gets hot and people start using air conditioners, we'll probably see the same bullshit again. But anyways, I showed you the pole because, you know, the power companies were, we're you know, new infrastructure and we're doing all this. Well, that pole's had the X on it to be replaced for, I don't know, a couple of years now. Still there. You know, it's about a third of the size of a normal pole. And now that brings me to the next thing, that, because I think in the last video we talked about some of the solar and stuff like that. Like, you know, why don't we see as much down south as we do here in nice, you know, beautiful, sunny New York, like right now on April 7th? Well, New York just approved some big windmill project. They just approved the permits for it. So I was reading up on it, and I just took a picture of the last paragraph of it, the whole article about it, because this makes a difference. As part of the approval, developers will be required to follow conditions related to construction, operation, and eventual decommissioning, including restoring the site at the end of the project's lifespan. Restoring the site. Okay. Decommissioning. So then I looked up, you know, because I'm curious. We've heard numbers over the years. What is the lifespan of these windmills and solar panels and all that? And most that you read is 20 to 25 years. Okay, so let's say it just started today, 2026, and every year they keep doing it. That means 20 to 25 years from now, all of a sudden, all this shit has to start getting decommissioned off of good prime farmland, where a lot of it is going across the country, not just here, and restored back to good prime farmland. And that's going to happen every year, because if it starts now and you do some every year, the decommissioning is going to happen. So I was curious. I'm like, what do they do with this shit? Well, some of the things that I saw and some of the videos that I saw was quite interesting. Bulldozers, you know, making these huge trenches to bury the I don't know, dead windmills, I guess we'll call them, because they're being decommissioned. That's good for the environment. We're going to do all this stuff to save the planet. Of course, we're just doing it here, you know, not so much around the world, because apparently the United States is going to be the only ones that save the planet. And then we have to decommission this stuff, and it seems like they don't really know what they're going to do with it to decommission it, so let's just bury it in the ground. And if we're going to start doing all this stuff because it's going to make us go green and save the electric grid, why is electricity, you know, 1,800, 400? Yeah. How's that happen just in a matter of 2 or 3 months? I'm just curious. So I'm just putting that out there. If anybody's got the answers, including the person that, you know, apparently has stock in the electric companies because they were defending them to the bitter end, leave your comment as to the justification of electric bills going crazy the way they did, and how we're going to save the planet with all these big windmills and solar panels that eventually have to have something done with them. And if they're so great, how come, just as a reference, okay, that pole right there was put in new, because apparently they have to be a little bit bigger if they have a transformer for the weight than some of the other poles, like that one there, which has got the transformer for, you know, that's what my house and that shed and Mom's house and this one and whatnot. That was put in, back when the grain facility was put in. So over 2 decades ago. So over the time limit of what a windmill and a solar panel apparently will last. And I'll bet you that power pole will be there for another God knows how many decades. That little freaking pencil across from my house has been there since, I don't know. I've been on this earth for over a half a century, obviously. And I think that's an original pole across from my house. But yet, solar and wind, apparently 20, 25 years. Make it make sense, folks. Who's getting the huge kickbacks for all this and making a fortune while we the people pay for it? And here's your one more thing, because we're going to make this a short one. Well, shorter than normal. So I've come to the realization that yes, we are going to lose the midterms. And there's probably a good chance we lose the presidency in 28. But here's my question. Okay, I'm going to form this as a question. Is $4 gas right now, for what I believe will be a short period of time, what the time frame is, I don't know, but is $4 gas right now, and I don't know, some of you on the right's feelings being hurt that this isn't what I voted for, because that's all I ever see in comments on YouTube and on Instagram, the only two forms of social media that I'm on. You know, I didn't vote for this. Trump said no new wars. He promised this, he promised that, Epstein files, blah, blah, but you've heard me say it before. Is all of this worth going back to the 4 years of Biden, Harris, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, all of them running the show? Chuck Schumer the other day said the quiet part out loud. Of course, the news won't repeatedly say this like they will if Trump says something. We need to find a path to citizenship for all of the illegals. So in other words, the Democrats take back control, the border gets wide open again. How many is enough? How many can this country take? There's a question. When do we stop? What's the number that the Democrats need to guarantee they never lose an election again? And then with AI and all this that, you know, is projected to take away some human being jobs, how do you support that number, whatever that number is? But that's what we'll be going back to. Sky high inflation because of shit like that, our border being overrun, unfortunately, more violence, more poor women being raped and murdered. They showed you the blueprint for 4 years. Is $4 gas and what's going on right now, and the fact that, you know, you're not getting things fast enough or good enough, or Tim Walz hasn't been arrested yet, if he ever does, or you know, all this fraud isn't being taken care of yet, but yet you wouldn't even know about any of this fraud if it wasn't for the fact that Trump ever came onto the scene. It would still all be not in the public eye. The man's working against Democrats and Republicans both, because as I've said before, 90% of the Republicans suck. But so when you all on the so-called right, the MAGA, decide to sit home because you're taking your ball and going home because you didn't get what you wanted, I'll say it again, I'll continue to say it until fucking November. The Democrats will be out in full force. They will win the election because, I don't know, they're mentally ill. They think opening the border back up and what happened for 4 years was fantastic. And when they get enough in here so that they never lose an election, it's going to be an endless 4 years. That's going to be our life forever. So you continue to say I didn't vote for this and I'm not happy and $4 gas is pissing me off and the Epstein files and whatever. Don't look at the big picture because, hey, you know, the big picture is pretty ugly if they get what they want. There's your one more thing. Push on the Grumpy Farmer Apparel link. Get your Grumpy Farmer Apparel because I'm a t-shirt grifter. Subscribe if you haven't and think about that, okay? I'm not getting what I want. You sound like Chuck Schumer with his Jim Crow 2.0 bullshit. So I'm sitting in the tractor. Here's the second more thing for you, waiting for him to show up. Waiting for the heat to warm up too, because obviously I had the heat off in here because it was, you know, warmer. But I was on the county legislature, as you know, for 8 years. We did a big solar project in the county on county property. I wasn't thrilled with it. But the whole decommissioning thing, if you don't get a big enough bond or whatever you want to call it up front for the decommissioning part, who do you think gets stuck with that cost? So that's because there's many companies involved. There could be 4 or 5 companies. The ones that do the legal work, the ones that do the, you know, the paperwork, the ones that do the site work, the ones that do the actual construction, the ones that are supposed to do the decommissioning. They're not always the same, very rarely the same company. So by the time it comes to decommissioning time, that company could not exist. If you got a small bond, and I'm just throwing numbers out there, so don't, you know, take these to heart, that 20 years ago they said it would cost $2 million to decommission that. So you got that, you know, $2 million bond or whatever, and now all of a sudden it costs $7 million. Who's going to pay the extra $5 million? If it's in your town or your city or your county, you are, as the taxpayer, because it's got to be done. Or I guess you could just leave it sitting there looking ugly, being useless. But that's why I was an advocate for getting a very high number up front. But oh, everybody fought me on that. You can't do that because, you know, then the companies won't do it. Well, if you get 10 million, it costs 5 million. They get their 5 million back at the end. It's better than you, the taxpayers, having to come up with that 5 million. Just my thoughts. Here's your farming. It's 28 degrees out and feels like 8 degrees with the wind chill because it's windy. So there's your farming for this video.